go in extensive detail on and show you how his service works to help you in compliance with these very important issues. Just want to give you a quick introduction on Ken. Ken has had over 25 years professional experience in human resource management, working with manufacturing, software development, banking, and consulting. He started HR Services in 2004 and ERISA Solutions in 2012, which provides extensive compliance, ERISA, and HR solutions for clients and brokers all over the country. He currently teaches employment law for the University of Phoenix, and he's been doing that for 8 years. He's got a master's degree in human resource management at the University of Utah, and holds undergraduate degrees in marketing and finance. Ken, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I've already heard this a couple days ago, and I know you do a great job in providing this information to everybody. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Brian. I appreciate the introduction. Hey, so we're going to talk today about what you need to do to pass an ERISA audit, as well as helping you make sure you're meeting all of your employee notification requirements. So we're going to go through some things. If you have questions, everyone's been muted, so if you have questions, please feel free to type in your question. You can see there from the little panel that's on your screen, you have the ability to type over questions. I'll periodically stop and address questions as I see them come over. Well, the ERISA stands for Employee Retirement Income Security Act. And this was originally formed, they're a division within the Department of Labor. The division is called the Employee Benefit Security Administration. They're the ones who administer ERISA. ERISA, when it first came out, it was primarily there to cover retirement plans, and hence the name Retirement Income Security Act. Over the years, they've added into it all health and welfare benefit plans. So now it covers all plans, medical, dental, life, disability, anything where you're offering group plans to participants. About the only couple of exceptions as to who's not covered. So it covers anyone who offers a group plan. It doesn't matter if you're a group of 2 or a group of 2,000, everyone's included. So about the only ones who are excluded, the government. Of course, they always set these laws and then exclude themselves. So government, which would also include public schools, would also exclude churches and Indian nations. So those are the only 3 who are excluded from coverage from ERISA. So we're going to talk today about some of those requirements, again, to help you in preparation for some audits that are taking place. And I want to talk just briefly about who's responsible for the compliance. Everyone, there's sometimes this confusion thinking that, well, the insurance provider takes care of that, or they're responsible, or the insurance broker, they'll take care of that, they're responsible. Now, both of those entities or individuals, those are there to assist you and may help, but ultimately the responsibility for compliance with ERISA rests with the employer. So you are responsible to make sure you're doing everything that we're going to talk about here today. I mentioned audits. The Department of Labor has hired 15,000 additional auditors, and they are auditing all plans. They have the task to audit and complete their audits by 2018. We've had 3 companies that have gone through us recently who were audited. One was a 15-person company. The other was a 44-person company. So you can see they're auditing all size groups. And you don't know if your number is going to come up this week or 2 years from now. So we're recommending that everyone take the steps now so that you're compliant and you're ready for this when it ultimately happens. There's a number of things that you need to have in place. Some of the documents they're going to ask for when they come in and knock on the door. They're looking for your plan documents or trust agreements, summary plan descriptions or a summary plan description wrap document, summary of material modification. Let me explain what a couple of these are. A summary plan description is basically what this is an overview of the benefits and all the important eligibility, all the details or requirements that ERISA wants the participants in the plan to understand and have. Now, what you get from the insurance company does not meet all of those requirements. Typically covers about 80–85%. It's missing some of the things. So what some companies will do is they'll go out and get a summary plan description wrap document. What a wrap document does is it pulls in the missing insurance company information, creates a summary plan description for each of the health and welfare benefit plans, medical, dental, life, disability, etc. If you wanted to, you could create this separately with a summary plan description for each of your benefits, as long as you're pulling in all that other missing information. That's the hard part. If you're doing it individually, it's almost more cumbersome than if you just do it under an SPD wrap document. A summary of material modification, what that is that has to be given out to participants in the plan every year where you've had a material modification change, like you're changing the rates or you're changing something that impacts their coverage. And you'll need to have that evidence that you've generated those documents as well, and that they've been given to participants. Other things they may look for if they're auditing, they're going to be asking for benefit description booklets, certificates of coverage, and any other documents that you're giving to participants. So these are some of the things they look for. So just keep in mind these are the types of records you're going to want to have created. If you don't have them already, have them on file and ready for the audit. They're also looking for Form 5500, if applicable. So if your group or your organization has 100 or more participants in any of the benefit plans, whichever plan has 100 or more participants, they're required to file a Form 5500. Now, one of the nice things about if you do use an SPD wrap document, you're able to fill out just one 5500 that would cover for all of the health and welfare benefit plans. And so that's another reason that's sometimes helpful to use that document for that. These are some of the items in summary that they look for when they come in. So I mentioned already the summary plan descriptions or a wrap document. They're also verifying that a number of notices are complete, like HIPAA, Medicare Part D, Women's Health and Cancer, Newborns, Mental Health and Parity, COBRA. So they're looking for various notices. I'm going to show you a comprehensive list in just a moment of all the various notice requirements. They're also verifying that you're implementing the various Affordable Care Act or Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, APACA compliance. They're looking, I mentioned the 5500s, they're looking for various record keeping and documentation inside of that. We have actual sample letters if someone would like that. I'll give you my contact information at the end of this discussion. So within an SPD, there's a number of things that are required. An SPD needs to be given out to each participant in the plan. And I've already kind of talked about the difference between an SPD and a wrap document itself. There's a lot of things that are missing with what you get from the insurance company. I'm not going to read through this whole list, but there's a number of things like eligible participation, a plan year, employer tax identification number. All of these things are what the Department of Labor, they look for to be included in order for it to be considered an SPD. So what a wrap document again does is it pulls in this missing information, wraps around all your component plan documents, pulls in the missing insurance company information, and adds in the required ERISA language. So it has to be distributed, either the SPDs or the wrap document has to be distributed to all participants every 5 years if you've had changes. So if you're just now setting something like this up and you haven't done these in the past, you would send it out to everyone initially, and then you would keep a current, accurate copy on hand, and you would provide it to all new participants in the plan as soon as they become eligible for benefits. Well, I mentioned this big list of employee notice requirements. There's a number of requirements just by virtue of offering medical insurance that may or may not apply based on the size of the group, which benefits you have, and the way your benefits are set up. Now, most of us are pretty good at doing the COBRA and the summary of benefits and coverage. We get, recently that's something that came about the last couple of years, the SBC, and I believe that that's going out. If you're doing at least that, you're already meeting probably 75 to 80% of the SPD requirement. You're just missing some items there. A lot of us are doing the COBRAs, but you should also be sending out a general initial COBRA. And what that does is that pushes the responsibility back onto the participants in the plan. If they have something like divorce or a child turning over the age of 26, and they're no longer on the plan, you may not know about those things. And so it pushes the responsibility onto them that they need to notify you. And that's why you do the initial notice. And then, of course, a qualifying event notice just occurs whenever something qualifies where they've lost coverage, like termination of coverage or termination of employment, for example. I won't go into detail on each of these notices right now. Suffice it to say that, again, it depends on the number of employees and how your benefits are set up as to whether or not they apply. Now, there's a number of ways that the SPD wrap or summary plan description or the notices need to be given out to participants. I'm just going to briefly highlight these, and we've completed an article last month that goes into a lot more detail, again, that we'll make available to Brian, and he can distribute it around to you. First, you can do this. You can mail a paper copy of the documents. Now, if you're doing an SPD wrap document, it would also require that you're attaching in some of the insurance certificates and brochures and other information. It might be a pretty large document by the time you're finished. So you could either mail that to them, you could hand deliver it to them. If you're mailing it, it's recommended that you do a first-class mail. If you're handing it to them, you should obtain a copy. Both of these approaches is going to require, making lots of copies. So we recommend, where possible, to do it use some form of electronic delivery. And you can do it electronically by posting the documents on some sort of internet access where people have access to that information. If you are taking that approach, you still need to notify each individual separately, whether with you could email them saying that here's where this is located and here's how you participate or how you access the information, or you could mail them a card with that same information that's explaining here's where this is available. If you take the approach, a lot of times we run into situations where employees do not have a regular work email, like a manufacturing plant, for example. In that case, you do need to you still need to make sure that they have access to the system. You can email it to them. If they don't have a regular work email, you can get permission from them to send it to their personal email. Most people have a personal email somewhere that they could get to. With those instructions that you send out to them, you do have to indicate that they have the option if they want to obtain a hard copy, or that you'll make available to them a computer or whatever to give them the access that they need. And we have the sample letters and everything that we'll provide to anyone who's working with us, to help with this delivery process. So I won't go into a lot more detail than that at this time. All right, so if you're prepared for an audit, we've already kind of talked about this, making sure that you have all of your summary plan descriptions or a wrap service in place. Needs to be given out to participants. So you need to keep record of who you've given that to, what you've given, and when you've given it to them. You want to make sure you're completing all your required employee notices and that you're getting those out, and same thing there, that you're keeping record of who was sent what notices and when. You're going to want to notify participants of any changes in the plan using a summary of material modification. And then if applicable to you, and you have 100 or more participants on a given benefit plan, that you're completing Form 5500. And in some instances, if that applies to you, would also provide them with a summary annual report, SAR. And then establish some sort of a record-keeping system where you're monitoring the contributions, benefit payments, participant information, and so on. I would also keep copies of anyone who's waived benefits, that you keep a copy of that information as well, and that you have those records all pulled together. Now, if you're not compliant, there can be some pretty hefty penalties. Could be as much, it always depends on the auditor, but it could be as much as $110 a day per participant. One of the recent audits that we had, they went back 3 years. Could also be up to as much as $500,000 in penalties, and even civil and criminal penalties. It always depends on your auditor. It depends on which violations you have, as whether there'll be penalties. Okay, so I wanted to go in. I'm going to go into switch gears here now, and help you understand how we could help you through this process. And this is one of the reasons that Brian sought us out, is so that he's providing you with a solution to help you be ready for these things. So we've created a service that's called Compliance Basics Plus SPD Wrap, and I'm just going to briefly go through the how this could help you with these things at this time. Feel free to ask me any questions as we go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to help you be audit ready and help you be aware of any employment law changes in PPACA, changes in ERISA, anything that's going on. Every month we give you what you need to know and do. And we do this by giving you a legal update. So every month we send out a compliance reminder that tells you here's what the actions are this month that you need to do and by when. Also included in this, we're going to cover any federal compliance changes, and it's going to cover all employment law, PPACA, ERISA, any employment law changes. We'll also cover state-by-state changes. So you may have multiple states where you have employees. You can go to whichever states are highlighted in the update, and you click the highlighted item, and then it'll give you state-by-state items and changes and actions that you have inside of there. So this is the first piece, is we want to give you what you need to know and do every month. We also give you a best practice article. It's an article that's called an HR Bulletin, where we cover various topics in detail on the how to do the items. The legal update gives you what you need to know. The best practice article tells you how to do it. So for example, we've covered how to set up a wellness plan. We've covered what actions you need to take to be compliant with PPACA. We've covered other things like how do you hire people, how do you do terminations, and so on. Here's an example of one where we covered how to pass an ERISA audit. Okay, so back to this big list of employee notices. We've created a tool, it's a web-based tool, where you can go in and you just answer simple questions about your company. And the answers to these questions then, it pulls in which notices apply to your organization, and it populates them. And it fills out the documents and such. So everything in this bracket is pulled into an all-in-one notice. We recommend you run that notice once a year to meet, a lot of these notices have to occur every year. And so as long as you're running that notice every year, our system automatically notifies you to run that as well. Now you'll see also, and I'm going to go in and show you right inside the system, it also gives you the ability to generate your health exchange notice. Now this was due back in October to go out to all employees, not just participants in a plan. So our system will allow you to, you still have to provide that notice to all new hires. So you need to have a current, accurate notice that's in place. Our system will generate that for you as well. Let me go into the system here, and I'll just show you what this looks like. So I'm logging into our site at hrserviceinc.com. And if I log in as a participant, I'll show you what this looks like. So inside of here, now you have all these various toolbars up above here that give you various services within inside each of these. So if I were wanting to go in and run my all-in-one notice right now that we just talked about, I could go in here, click this Employee Notifications button, Employee Notice Report. Once I click that report, I can come in here and I answer the various questions about my company, number of employees, which states where I have employees, and then I answer the various questions about my medical insurance. And I won't read through each of these for sake of our time here today, but suffice it to say that we've asked all the right questions that will pull in and populate the notices that are required. So once I've gone into here, if I were to click that button right now, it would generate this all-in-one notice, be emailed to me in a ready-to-deliver format to participants in the plan. So we're trying to make this very simple process for you to help meet all of these various notice requirements here. Also, you notice inside of here, there's the other button to the right where it says Generate Health Exchange Notice. This is where I would check that button after I had answered the questions, and then it would email me the correct notice. It would be populated, ready to deliver to participants. If I were to go back out of this now, I also wanted to show you there's a new a HIPAA toolkit that's inside of here. I'm jumping across here for a moment, but inside of this kit, we provide all the information you need to comply with HIPAA. So first, you can go through and assess and measure your requirements of personal health information, or protected health information, I should say, PHI. So you assess that and how that's coming in, and then we provide you with all the forms and documents, template policies and procedures and everything needed to cover in that. Brian, did you have a comment or anything for us?
No, I did not. I was just listening to your presentation.
Okay, apologize. I thought I heard something come over. So, okay, so also contained inside of here, you're able to. There's a section for trigger and event type notices, where you have all access to your latest FMLA forms and documents, if it applies to you, if you have 50 or more participants. There's template, COBRA letters, HIPAA breach documents, everything that's needed inside of there. I could also go in and access all of our past legal updates. So if I wanted to go in and look at past updates by date, or I could look at them by topics. I could search any legal topic that I wanted. We have a section in here called HR Forms, where we have all the required new hire paperwork. Now, most of you already have this in place, but it gives you the latest I-9, W-4, there's a job application, direct deposit form, everything that you might need to run, the paperwork requirements. You have access to all of our best practice articles. All of our bulletins are inside of the system here as well. And then, of course, you can go in and create and generate what we call a summary plan description wrap document. So this service allows you to go in and you can answer the simple questions about your company, about your benefits, whatever you check here. I won't go through into details on all of this, but whatever benefits I check here, it populates then down below where I fill out information about my various plans. Here's one for the medical, the dental, life, and LTD, and cafeteria plan. Those are the only ones that were checked in this service here. Now there's some, again, I won't go into details on everything, but you have to cover your benefit, what happens when benefits terminate, what's your open enrollment month, your planned year. So that could either be a calendar year, or if it's a fiscal year, it's a planned year that's other than calendar year, and then you cover that whole time frame. You cover eligibility of participants in the plan, and in setting up and filling this document out. So once I've completed this document, I can come down here to the bottom of this, and then I can click this button and generate my SPD wrap document. So it's very easy to use. Everything you fill out here, you have to make sure you either save and exit when you've put in information, or you have to click the button to generate the document. Now, if I were to click that button right now, it would pop up and say, thank you for generating your document. It will be reviewed by our ERISA specialist and returned to you within 5 business days. And so we have another specialist here that you can call at any time. Now, she's not an attorney, but she's an expert in what the requirements are and how to fill out this document. And so you could call any time at this this toll-free number and receive assistance with, in filling this out and working through these requirements. Once she reviews your information, then it's sent out to you with instructions on what to include with it and how to send it out to participants. So this document itself, we don't recreate or add in the details that's in your insurance plan. So ERISA requires that you attach, for example, the insurance certificates or brochures along with the document that we create here for you before you send it out to participants in the plan. If you have any questions, feel free to type me over questions. So far, we've not had any coming through here. So let me go back to what we've talked about so far is the challenge in getting these notices out, and we've given you a possible solution of how we could help you with that. We've talked about the ERISA audits that are pending. That it's not a matter of will you be audited, it's a matter of when you will be, because it will occur sometime by 2018. And so we've discussed ways to help you prepare for that. We talked about the various techniques and such in getting your documents together. We recommend using an SPD wrap document to get that together, and of course we provide that solution. So if this is something you'd like, you can set this up. You can very easily create your information all online, generate your documents. It'll save and maintain your data, and and helping you to be compliant. Just to go over some of the costs of these programs, because you work with SIL Insurance Agency and Brian Kosen, you get some preferred pricing on this. So for example, what we've been talking about here is called Compliance Basics plus SPD Wrap. And this is the comprehensive solution that gives you everything that we talked about in terms of the legal updates, the due date reminders, the bulletins, access to all the web-based tools, access to the SPD Wrap service as well. And that's $236 a year total. So that's how that process works. If this is something that you're interested in, you can sign up right online, or you can sign up by contacting me or Brian as well. I'm going to walk you through that process. So if you were to sign up online, if you went to our website at www.hrserviceinc.com, or calling us. So you could either call, if you called us, we could walk you through it right over the phone, or you could do it by going online. You'll see there's a button that says Get Started Now, and you'll click that Get Started Now, select the service that you want, create a username and password that you're going to want to access, come back into the system later, and then it'll ask you for a partner key. Your partner key, and this is a special key for SIL Insurance Agency and Brian, but it's 1364, and that will connect you back into them. It gives you the discount. This will also give Brian access to your information as well. But you can, so then you complete the basic information. You can just pay with a credit card. So it's as simple as that. Let me go into. I'm going to go back to the home page here for a moment, and I'll actually show you what that looks like. And by the way, there's a question that came over. I'm going to stop and answer that question first, and then I'll come back to this the home page here. The question is, can more than one person have access to the site? The answer is yes, but you'll only have one username and password. So in going into the site, you'll only want to share that username and password, that same username and password, with whoever you're comfortable also accessing the site and the information. It can only be used for your company specifically, but more of you can use it. The same is true with the legal updates and the bulletins. You can have it go to more than one person at your organization. There's no extra cost for that. Thank you. Okay, so if I'm back here at this home page, and if I were you and I said, hey, this looks pretty good, I'd like to get set up on this service, what do I do? Go to hrserviceinc.com, click Get Started Now at the top, select the service that you want. We've talked today about this Compliance Basics plus SPD Wrap, so that's the $249 service. Now, if I also need a $125 premium only plan document, I can add that for only $50 more, and then I would click that box. And I should mention, that's a required document if employees are paying for any of their premiums for dental or medical, or maybe you have some sort of a program with AFLAC or whatever. If they're paying for any of those on a pre-tax basis, you're required by IRS law, tax law, to have a $125 premium only plan document. Or if you have a full cafeteria account where you have like flexible spending accounts for medical and dependent care, that program meets those requirements as well. So if you need any of these. So if I were signing up for this service, I would click the button there for which service I want, and then I would say next. I would put in my username and password, and then it would ask me for the partner key, and this is where I would put in 1364, and that's what will give you the discount, and will connect you into SIL's organization as well. From there, you'd see just some basic questions about your company, and then just asking for credit card information where you can just pay right online. And I've mentioned, alternatively, certainly feel free to call us with any questions that you have. So you can call or email Anita Johnson, is our customer service manager, and you can reach her at 855-447-3374. She's extension 4. And she's actually also our ERISA specialist, so she'll be the one you would call with questions about your documents and such as well. Her email is just anita@hrserviceinc.com. My phone number and email is very similar to hers. It's the same phone number. I'm extension 6. And I'm Ken Spencer, as I mentioned before, so please feel free to call me as well with any questions. My email is the same as hers. It's just ken@hrserviceinc.com. Great. Well, if there are no other questions, I just wanted to thank everyone for participating today. And Brian, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Thanks very much for giving us that incredibly insightful ERISA and Department of Labor webinar. It's very distressing on how much that the Department of Labor and the federal government requires groups to provide their employees, which probably the majority of them will never even look at. But I think you offer tremendous service. We have taken advantage of it here at our agency, and the forms are very easy to fill out. As you had mentioned, once you populate the one for the notifications, it automatically populates a lot of the questions for the summary plan description wrap. And I encourage everybody to seriously consider taking advantage of the service just as a precautionary measure for the unforeseen possibility of ever being audited. I think the cost is very reasonable, and in addition to the notification services and the summary plan description services, the HR services, the legal notifications are probably worth the cost of it in and of itself. So I do thank you very much for giving us your time, and you have given everybody your numbers and contact information. We will be getting everybody will be getting a recording of this video. We will be emailing it out to everybody again, just as a reminder. I know some people we contacted weren't able to make the webinar, and some people have called and said they'd like to show it to somebody else in their organization. So emails will be going out probably next week with a copy of and a recording of this webinar. So you will have that to reference as you would like. And also, as Ken said, please give us a call if you have any questions. And again, I just want to thank Ken for providing this very insightful and informative webinar. Thank you very much.